Hello, I'm FX Toycat, and Q&A, what cave biomes do you wish to add? I want underground variants of biomes, and you know what? I've said for a long time that it's kind of disappointing there are just 3 new biomes, of which we've only seen 2 so far in 1.18, and I think underground variants of biomes just underneath the surface would be a great way to separate the subsurface caves from the ones that go super deep into deep slate. Here is a desert cave for an example of how that could look, for example, but I feel like there are so many cool ideas that is definitely not the limiting factor, because there's so many great ideas, right? Here is the idea for a luminescent mushroom cave. I mean, mushrooms that spawn specifically underground. We already have the brown and red mushrooms for the overworld. We have the mushrooms for the nether. Why not have some mushrooms for some caves? I think it's a great idea by itself, but also we could go with slime caves. That could be a specific way to find slimes, or we could find a specific way to find all manner of other mobs, but no, we have 3 new biomes, which is kind of disappointing until you realize that some great news came out this week, because to answer the question from Kevin the Neon Cat, what about all the new achievements? There are going to be new achievements in the 1.18 update, even though we just got some new ones in 1.17, and the way we can confirm this is that the latest snapshot, the one added this week, added these brand new advancements to the game, and advancements don't always perfectly correlate with brand new achievements, but King B Dogs tweeted this out, and then when Fax Senaidu says, why are these not in Bedrock? King B Dogs confirms saying they will be. And although there's some, this might be like slightly changed by the time it gets to Bedrock, that means that this is the list of brand new achievements you can expect to probably be coming to the next update, 1.18, and I think these are really cool personally. I think they're a little bit challenging. I mean, for instance, Star Trader, trading with a village at the build height limit, that's 320 blocks now, by the way. That will probably be a bit of a challenge and be one of the harder achievements in the game, which is fine for them to add, and my only other concern here is if you look at the rest of these, caves and cliffs are falling from the top or bottom of the overworld, that is distinctly a 1.18 achievement. However, the other ones aren't really distinctly that new. I mean, a jukebox in the meadow biome for sound of music, it's fun, but it's not distinctly 1.18. But the question is, should new achievements specifically focus on the update or not? And it sounds like the answer is they're not aiming to at the very least. And so speaking of achievements, 08 Schlaukopf 08 says, remember when the achievements button was above the marketplace button? And you know what? I really do. This is how the Minecraft Pocket Edition menu used to look, with the achievements button being one of the 2 major buttons just above settings, and then store being a thing in the corner. And then when they added the marketplace button, it was marketplace instead of store. And then when they launched the marketplace, they decided they needed to go back to 3 buttons, and which is the easiest one to get rid of? Obviously, it's the achievements button, because you can find that in the menus. They never say, oh yeah, you can just find the marketplace in the menus. If you need to find it, you can look for it. But they decided that with achievements, and it really did irk me. But fortunately, as you might know, in the latest update, they finally put the achievements back on the menu screen with that fun little bottle in the corner, so at least it makes everything slightly less egregious. But that was one of the things that bugged me for so long, and I'm glad that someone else is mentioning it, because you know what, being minorly annoyed at things is what life is all about. Speaking of being minorly annoyed by things, Daniel A asks, how was the driving lessons, Toycat? Are you a good driver now? So if you don't know, I have a driving test booked for 2 weeks from now, which is when I'll officially either get my driving license or I'll have to rebook and it'll take me months to do it. So yeah, a lot of people have been asking how the driving lesson's going. I haven't taken a single driving lesson yet. The test is in 2 weeks, and I'm going to take my first lesson next week, and we're just going to see how that goes. My theory is that I'll have to do fewer lessons if I just group them all into a short period as possible. It's like cramming, but for a driving test instead of a real one. I guess a driving test is a real test. Speaking of real tests, Clayton Rogers asks, why did they remove large biomes? And so this is a Java-specific question, because large biomes as an option has never existed on the Bedrock version of the game. However, as you can see, when we load up the Java launcher, for whatever reason, there is no large biomes option anymore. There's also no amplified, and there's no custom worlds. And honestly, it's weird that the new world generation means they have to remove just as many options as they've effectively added. And so if you're a big fan of customizing your own world, it's sad that those things are gone. However, on the plus side, we've been complaining forever that Java has amplified and Bedrock doesn't, and it seems as though they solved that issue by just removing it from Java. It's like when you get pay equality, where everyone's like, okay, all the guys, we're gonna have to take pay cuts, so we level out with it. And it's like, no, we should all move forwards at the same time, not some people move backwards to try and move other people forwards. But that is not how people view things, which is why I'm starting my new campaign. We wanna, level out the gender disparity in domestic violence. And so, ladies, make sure you beat your male significant others at some point, so we can get those statistics perfectly even. I think that's an offensive thing to say in a video, so let's pretend I didn't say it, and instead, question for Q&A Saturday, what is the weird dirt block with the writing on it in your bank of Toycat? So a lot of people have seen in the Let's Play world because of the new update, which came out a couple of weeks ago. Fun fact, there'll be one coming out for the, the 9-year anniversary, which is in just a couple of weeks. I'm very excited. But there is a weird dirt block with update written on it, and this is called an update block. It's one of the weird quirks of Minecraft Bedrock that when a block updates, sometimes it breaks, and it becomes that. It was meant to be an iron door. Somehow it turned into an update block. I genuinely don't know how, but it's been that way forever, and I just don't go in there, and so I've got a rare update block chilling inside my bank. Speaking of things chilling inside my bank, talking about statistics, did you know you have an above average number of arms for humans? And this is one that I looked at and I was like, that's not true, and then I realized, oh, it totally is. And statistics like this really tickle me because, like the average human being has just under one testicle, but just over one breast, because there are slightly more women than men in the world. Maybe it averages out to about 1 when you consider all the mastectomies and all the... actually, then there's a lot of people who then would actually add on breasts later on in life, but then there are people who take away their breasts. Life is complex, and every statistic has, a world of nuance hidden behind it. It reminds me of the fact that, the average salary in the UK is, I think it's 32,000, but, to me, that is still an ungodly amount of money. That doesn't feel average. That feels, super, super high up. I have a friend who earns just under that, and it's, to me, he's, mega wealthy. And so statistics are something that are vaguely misleading, just like the fact that, greater than 99% of house fires happen to people who aren't subscribed to the channel. Obviously, there's a very picky statistic being used right there. I mean, it's funny and all, but obviously it's, unjustifiable. But you could genuinely make a case for the fact that IBX Toycat subscribers are slightly less likely than average to be murdered, because if you watch a lot of YouTube, that's the only way you find a somewhat niche channel like mine. And then if you're watching an above average amount of YouTube, you're inside your house, probably more than the average person, and to be murdered, you have to be outside, or someone has to come into your house specifically to murder you. But long story short, I think being subscribed to IBX Toycat slightly lowers your odds of being murdered, which is great because you have the above average number of arms. Speaking of weird statistics that I definitely shouldn't have gone bogged down by, let's move into the Alien Trees comments. When would Toycat accept the truth that it is called the Badlands? I don't know why this screenshot's so broken. I'm sorry about that. But as you can see, there is 6 people who agree with him that I should start calling it the Badlands biome, because, I mean, some people would call it the Badlands biome, and some of those people are even Minecraft developers themselves, because it says that in the game code and indeed in the game options. However, I figured I would run a little bit of a poll as to whether I was behind the times or not, and as you can see from my Twitter feed, 79.1% of people still call it the Mesa biome over the Badlands. And then we get into the interesting language discussion again from last week about, does the word mean what people mean it to mean, or is it the game's description that matters? I mean, the character being called Steve, even when he's not Steve, is that correct? The answer is there is no answer, because it's a game and you should enjoy yourself, and enjoying yourself means staying away from things with bad in the name, which is why it's not going to be the Badlands. If you're going to call it something, call it the Good Lands. Speaking of good lands, this next comment is a really good land on me, because they blew a hole in my side when the atheistic Grey Blob says, Toycat, what month you're born does not affect your personality in any way, shape or form. Horoscopes and astrology is a complete scam, lol. And this is because I vaguely defended the idea of astrology not being correct, but having the tiniest root in reality. Obviously I agree with you that, yeah, of course your brain isn't affected by the month that you're born. If you're born in July, you're exactly the same as if you're born in September, assuming you come from the same parents, but that's only one of the 2 factors that determines how you are as a person. Half of your, your life is about your lineage, your, your brain, your chemistry, your biology or whatever, and the other half is about your environment, and your environment does change based on the month you're born, because, for whatever reason, we as a society have a schooling system that almost every single human being has to enroll into, and that school system runs from September to September, and that means that if you're born in September, you're up to 11 months older than everyone else in your school year, and if you're born in August, you're up to 11 months younger than everyone born in your same year, because again, we group people into year groups like that way. It's very strange in my opinion, but it means that 11 months might not sound like a big difference when you're 26, but when you're just 6, 11 months is a huge difference. It means that you're going to be 11 months further in your development, both brain speaking, mentally speaking, but also physically speaking, and so you're going to be much better at sports if you are born in a September September, October month, etc., because you're just going to be bigger than people around you, so you have more time to dedicate to it, etc., etc., etc. And so there is some small truths to this. You can see this with professional sports players are more likely to be born in certain months over other ones, which can't be explained away by purely they're just born different, better, etc. But even more than that, there's so many other micro things that are affected by this. I mean, if your birthday is in July, your parties are likely to be, ones that are outside in the sun or whatever. If your birthday is in December, then you're probably inside. And I'm sure these things have very minor differences on how you generate. And so, although astrology is mostly a scam, calling it a complete scam is just as ignorant as saying that it's, like a complete truth. That you can trust with 100% certainty that Virgos are actually attractive, handsome human beings, and that Scorpios are going to murder your kids. Given that your name is the Atheistic Blob, you should be very familiar with this. Like, we shun religion as the time of the old gods, and then we just create new religions in the current age, right? We believe 100% in the politics of our choice that have created almost like a church-like sermon where you learn the politics not by intuitively working out what your policy should be, but instead you hear from some person in real life who goes, actually, this is the current set of opinions that are orthodox amongst the members, and it's a weird, undistributed method, but that is the current way that is done. And so in the exact same way that you can't say you're certain that there is a thing in the sky if you're a super atheistic being, isn't it just as ludicrous to say you're 100% sure that it isn't there? Isn't that against the scientific method? Shouldn't you be open to all possibilities? Because if you're not, then you're going to be specifically looking for the possibility that you most agree with, and agreement should not be the way we seek out knowledge in this world. Knowledge is something you should be able to look for everywhere, and you might be surprised by some of the things that you learn, and if you're not surprised by the things you're learning, then maybe you're doing the process wrong. Anyway, that was a heavy question. So Seth Perkins says, how is everyone's day? And you know what? My day is going really well. I've had some bad days this week, but it's been really good recently, and I hope that all of you have a good weekend yourself. I have been enjoying the videos recently, and we've got back on track with the uploads. I'm glad you all enjoyed that. I'm gonna enjoy a little bit of time off, and then for tomorrow, I'm hoping we can finish off a video on the top 10 caves and cliff seed I've seen so far. There are some crazy ones that I just have to share with you all, so I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Try to avoid house fires and murders, because I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.